Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to April 29th, 1988, and just like last week we have 6 movies to look at, and I found trailers for most of them, so we can talk about all 6 of them. So let's go ahead and start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and even then it's not really that big because this movie did not do so well. That is Bruce Willis and James Garner in Blake Edwards' latest movie, Sunset.
The movie star didn't do it. And the hero, Arthur, and the legendary lawman didn't do it. Well, how did you know that? Then who done it?
Did he kill her?
I didn't think so. I killed her.
He disagreed.
Bruce Willis and James Garner are hot on the trail of Beverly Hills' most shocking murder. Interesting development, huh? And every outrageous word is true. Give or take a lie or two. A Blake Edwards film, Sunset, rated R. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
Sunset comes to us, like I said, from Blake Edwards, and is based off of an unpublished novel where you have Bruce Willis playing a Western actor, Tom Mix, who teams up with a lawman, Wyatt Earp, played by James Garner, as they try to solve a murder in Hollywood in 1929. And this is a very different film from Blake Edwards, and I think that was one of the reasons why the film didn't do so well, because Sony Pictures really had, Columbia Pictures, they hadn't bought Sony yet at this point, but they were having a hard time figuring out how to sell this movie. I mean, they did... It's more of a mystery film, a mystery period piece than what Blake Edwards usually does, which is mostly comedy stuff. There are a lot of comedic elements to it, but it's a film that even a lot of reviewers who saw it had trouble defining. Like Roger Ebert, I think, said it in his review that the strangest thing about Sunset is that it's not a comedy, not exactly. It has some laughs, but it's sort of a low-key, elegant mood film. And part of the reason I think is this is why the film didn't do so well with the critics and with most audiences, and even somebody like me who really likes a lot of Blake Edwards' work, even some of his lesser films, even I can look at this and go, like, this is a little bit too ambitious for its own good. I mean, it doesn't border on Ishtar levels of bad, but it's one of those movies where it's kind of like, I think there was an idea there, but I don't know what that idea really was. It just feels like a film that didn't really know what kind of a film it wanted to become overall. Like, does it want to stick with what Blake Edwards does best, or does it want to do something a little bit outside of his norm? And I think that was the biggest problem going into it. I think Edwards needed to know right away what kind of a film he wanted to make with it, but most notably, this is the second film with Bruce Willis in it, following Blind Date, which I think is a far superior movie, and this was, of course, the film that came before Bruce Willis' star power really began to soar with Die Hard a couple months later. It's not a bad movie per se, it's just a very confused movie. It's a film that really doesn't know exactly what type of a film it really wanted to be. Like I said, it felt like a film that needed to know what direction it was going to go before they started shooting the film. And I just didn't really see it from this film at all during it. And it's a shame because there are pieces there where it could work, but then there are pieces there where everything else about it just kind of really doesn't work the way I think it really wanted to. It just feels like a film that had so much going into it, but never really had a thing about it that made it worth it in the end. I mean, like I said, it's not a bad movie per se, but it's definitely a film that really missed the mark on what it was trying to accomplish before. They should have figured it out right before they started shooting, but they did it while they were making it, and I think the film got lost in the shuffle because of it. So yeah, not one of Blake Edwards' better movies, but certainly not one of his worst movies either, but it's kind of right in the middle, but just needed to figure out what it needed to be first of all. So, that is Sunset. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, a film that knows exactly what it is, even though this trailer doesn't really make it look like it right away. Critters 2, The Main Course.
Sometimes the worst things come in small packages. And now they're coming back. They're furry. They're ferocious. They're critters. And they'll eat anything. The most illegal aliens of all are on a roll. And they're ready for seconds. Are you? Critters 2. The bite is back.
By the way, that trailer there is actually one of the rare combo trailers that's out there, because it starts off with a teaser for the Critters 2, but then it follows up with, and if the Critters don't get you, guess who will? And it's Freddy Krueger, and it's teasing the new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It's a great trailer, by the way, so if you go check that out, you can easily find it on there. That's where I got that clip from. But Critters 2, made it before the Gremlins got their sequel, 2 years before that. This is, of course, the sequel to the 1984 film with the same name, where you have taking place... Was it 1984 or was it 80? It was 86, I'm sorry. I thought 84 was when Gremlins came out. This came out in 86, so this makes more sense to have it come out a couple years after the original film. But this takes 2 years after the original film, when a bunch of planted critter eggs begin to hatch and resume their carnivorous appetite upon the town once again. And this is the one that has the big critter ball in it, which makes it one of the more fun things about the movie in general. Like, it's a film that is very silly, but it's also upping the ante in terms of the scare factor here. They got a lot of really good, talented people in here. You know, Mick Garris is a good director who has worked on stuff like I think he worked on Amazing Stories with the Steven Spielberg show, but then he followed it up with Sleepwalkers, a lot of Stephen King stuff. Sleepwalkers is one of those so bad it's good type of movies, and this is a film that definitely feels like a so bad it's good type of movie. And you have David Twohy, who would later go on to create Pitch Black and The Chronicles of Riddick at the script. Scott Grimes, who would later become a pretty good character actor with American Dad and ER, among many other things. And I didn't know this. Bill Hanna of Hanna-Barbera does the voices for the Critter screens, the Critter sounds and screens, which I think that's pretty hilarious when you think about it. It's a cheesy, corny movie, but a good, fun, cheesy, corny movie. Kind of like the first film in general. I mean, it knows exactly what it's delivering, and it really does give you everything you want from it. I mean, it knows exactly what it's trying to do. It's stupid, it's insane, it gets scary at times, but it delivers what it promises. It's a good, fun, cheesy film, and I enjoy it for what it is. I think the first Critters was a lot of fun, too. These are both really fun movies, so that is Critters 2, the main course. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Moon. Thinking of Who Framed Roger Rabbit for some reason. Moon Junction. Well, that trailer certainly shows the quality of this movie. This is one of the worst reviewed films ever. It's got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's doesn't have any good reviews, so I'm probably not going to have as much of a different reaction to this compared to everybody else. But you have April, played by Sherilyn Fenn of Twin Peaks fame, who has just graduated from an exclusive Southern college. She's just returned home to her family mansion to prepare for her semi-arranged marriage to the right man. A man approved by April's father, a senator, and during a trip to the local fair, April meets Perry, played by Richard Tyson, who was just in 3 o'clock high. The kind of man she's always wanted but never knew. Her parents are aghast, as Perry is exactly the kind of man they don't want her associating with. April must reconcile the expectations of her family and her fiancé with the passion she falls for Perry, and blah, 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 blah. You've seen this movie done over and over again, and man, let me tell you something. This is one of the laziest erotic thrillers I have ever seen. The sex scenes in this movie are not that interesting or engaging whatsoever. They feel so forced and so poorly executed. Like, Skinamax films, softcore movies on HBO back in the day, had better sex scenes shot compared to this. And those were clearly not meant to be pornographic, but more like softcore. Kind of pornographic, but softcore pornographic, not like hardcore stuff, but like this is so lazily done. And this is directed Zalman King, who did this was his first film as a director, and certainly the career that follows would definitely show some of the bad movies he had himself attached to, including Wildfire and the Wild Orchid movies and Red Shoe Diaries. Red Shoe Diaries at least knew exactly what they were doing, because that eventually became a Showtime series and had much better success than the actual movie that it was based off of did. But this is just a bad film. Like, you don't buy into the chemistry between the two leads whatsoever. You don't believe that they can have this erotic lust that they have for each other. And like I said, the trailer does a bad job of selling you on this movie. I mean, it's lazy how that trailer is. You could barely hear in that trailer, you could barely hear the music. The dialogue is so bad. The sex scenes are not erotic in any way, shape, or form. It just look like there's it clearly looks like the people acting in the movie have never acted before in their life on how to do sex scenes. It's just like it's amazing how lazy this movie is. It's amazing how impressively bad this movie is. Like, it's just But like I said, it's an example of what's to come from this director who has made notoriously bad erotic films one after another after this movie, and this one certainly doesn't show that there was at least some promise early on in his career. But no, this was dead on arrival, pretty much, and yeah. So not much more to say about this one. So that is to Moon Junction. So let's go ahead and get back to hopefully some good movies. Here's Powaqquatsi. Yeah, I bet you didn't expect Canon Films to be making documentaries at this point, but here you go. Powaqquatsi, I think I'm pronouncing it right, is a non-narrative film directed by Godfrey Reggio. It's the second film of his Quatsi trilogy, the first one being Powaqquatsi. I'm going to botch these pronunciations so badly, but Powaqquatsi is a Hopi neologism coined by Reggio, meaning parasitic way of life or life in transition. While the first film focused on modern life in industrial countries, this film, which simply has no dialogue, focuses more on the conflict in third world countries between traditional ways of life and the new ways of life introduced with industrialization. The music is written by Philip. This is written by the music by Philip Glass and produced by George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola. And for Canon Films, this was kind of a surprise. I mean, this was kind of a film that nobody really expected from them, considering that all they did at that point was action movies, not even great action movies. But yeah, this was kind of a big surprise that they did a documentary, even though it didn't get the best reviews overall. Excuse me. But I haven't seen these films, so I can't really say if they're any good or not, but I just found it kind of interesting that these were made by Canon Films, and these were very different films compared to what that studio used to make. I'm kind of impressed by that. I don't know if the movies are any good. I know this one did not get the best overall reviews, so there is that. But Criterion Collection did release as part of a set, so if you get released by the Criterion Collection, you're doing something right. So yeah, not much more to say about this one because I haven't seen it. I can't really say if it's any good or not. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire.
Meine ewige Geistesexistenz zu kennen. Ich möchte dann nicht mehr so ewig drüber schweben. I can't see you, but I know you're here. I feel it.
Je regarde devant moi et le monde se lève devant mes yeux. Mon mot au cœur. Es gibt keine größere Geschichte als die von uns beiden.
Wings of Desire is a romantic drama written and directed by Wenders, and it's about invisible, immortal angels who populate Berlin and listen to the thoughts of its human inhabitants, covering distress. Even though the city is densely populated, many of the people are isolated or estranged from their loved ones. One of the angels is played by Bruno Ganz, who falls in love with a beautiful, lonely trapeze artist played by Solveig Dormarten. The angel chooses to become mortal so that he can experience human sensory pleasures, ranging from enjoying food to touching a loved one, and so that he can discover human love with the trapeze artist. You also see Peter Falk in there too, which is kind of interesting to see him involved in the film. And it's a very good film. It's a very interesting mix of black and white and color and color as well. Like, it's really unique how this film is put together, and it's a very unique and strange film. Like, it has a lot of great visual styles to it. This is, of course, Wim Wenders, who went on to make a lot of great films in his career. You know, Paris, Texas. What else did he do? I feel like we've covered some other ones, too. Maybe we haven't. Maybe we didn't think of something else. But he did Buena Vista Social Club. I'm thinking that he did a documentary in the 70s. Now I can't even remember the title of it. But he is a very good director. And he's made a lot of very intriguing and interesting films in general. And this, of course, was later remade into City of Angels, which was not a good film overall. And this is definitely, and when you watch that movie compared to this film, this is definitely a movie that's a lot better compared to that film, easily. From the visual style, from the storytelling, from the casting. I think it's a very good film. It's one you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it. Wings of Desire. So with that said, let's move on to the last movie we have here, and that is simply
Martin Sheen.
I should have stuck up for you.
then I could have hated you instead of myself.
Barnard Hughes
And that wasn't a lie. That was a medium.
and William Hickey.
The one surviving particle of my knowledge is that in the public house lavatory, incoming traffic has the right of way.
Who knew Uncle Lewis was actually a really damn good actor? I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar for Kiss of the Spider Woman, and here he's one of the people involved in this film. You have Martin Sheen playing Charlie, who is a playwright in New York who must travel to Ireland to oversee the burial of his father, Da, played by Barnard Hughes. During his time there, he visits his childhood home and is visited by the spirit of his deceased father, and then Charlie travels down memory lane, reliving both happy and sad memories. This is based off of a Tony Award-winning play where Sheen and Hughes play the same characters they played in that and this, and it's a film that is largely forgotten, and probably for a good reason, because despite the interesting ideas this movie has, it's pretty bland and forgettable. I mean, it feels like a film that has some ideas that could be very interesting to see on the big screen, but it feels like a film that they probably should have just kept on Broadway, honestly. It feels like a film that could probably work better as a Broadway show rather than an actual movie, because this time all you have to do is just put them in an actual set, in an actual location instead of just on a set on stage somewhere. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. Duh. So with that said, that's going to wrap up Time About the Movies Flashback for this week. Next time, we'll take a look at April 22nd, 1988, with 7 movies, including Leah Thompson and Victoria Jackson in the comedy Casual Sex, question mark. We also have The Unholy, A Time of Destiny, Lady in White, Stormy Monday, White Mischief, and Mondo, New York. So 7 films we'll look at next time. But until then, thanks for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.